I think I can hold this with one hand so that I can hold my projects in the other. How am I? Oh, look at that. You can see the blood stains. Hopefully that's good enough. Does it look too much like I'm not wearing a shirt? Okie dokie. So today I'm going to be talking about my July, August, and September books that I read and crochet and sewing pieces that I made. There are a good amount of things to talk about here, so I thought we'd just get comfy. I'm just sitting in my bed and we're just going to talk about my thoughts on the books that I read and just talk a little bit about the things that I made. I do want to preface this by saying, one, if I'm looking over here, it's because my laptop with all of my notes are on here, and also I promise you I love to read. I do love to read. This may not reflect on that very well, but I do love to read. I think it's just not my reading year. Last year, I had the best reading year I've ever had. So many good books, so many good books. This year, I don't know what it is. I'm just not feeling it. I'm not reading bad books per se, but just good, not great. Okay, not the best. Also, 3 stars is good. That's like a good book for me. It's just not anywhere past good, if that makes sense. So if I give a book a 3 stars, I liked it, I just probably will never think about it again. I have a very specific rating system, but it's just based on my feeling in my head. So I just wanted to preface that before, so that you're not like, oh my gosh, does she even like to read? Like, is she forcing herself to read? Why is she doing this? I'm trying, okay? I'm trying. I don't know what it is. I also have a lot of videos attached to a lot of these projects and a lot of these books, so I'll link them all below, where I talk in depth about every single one of them. So if it is attached to a video, I might not talk about it as much. Okay, so I have 19 books to talk about and 18 projects to talk about, so let's get into it, starting with July. So first we have Heartless Hunter and Rebel Witch, which I do have the physical copies of. I'm going to be talking about them as a set. This is a duology, and I was really intrigued by the premise of this. Off to a great start. I wanted to read this because I was very intrigued by the premise. I also love the way that these books look. This is written by Kristen, I don't know how to say her last name, I'm so sorry. Published in 2024 and 2025. It's 406, and the second one is 464 pages. The average rating on Goodreads is a 4.18 and a 4.2. I gave both these books 3 out of 5 stars, and this is the romantasy genre. So this book is about Rune Winters, and she's a witch in hiding that is secretly rescuing other witches being hunted. So in this world, witches are not allowed. They're hunted and killed, and she is a very powerful witch and uses her powers to help rescue other witches. Then we have Gideon, who is a witch hunter, and he's very high status wise in his job, and they both start courting each other, and they neither one, like, Rune knows that Gideon is a witch hunter, but Gideon doesn't know that Rune is a witch, but he thinks she's a witch. So they start courting, both for separate motives, and we kind of just follow them through this journey living in this world. I really liked the concept of this book, and I really liked the dual point of view aspect. I'm someone who does love when we get the man's point of view, because I feel like we get more insight into what is actually going on, and there's less room for confusion from the reader. I think that Rune and Gideon are fine on their own, but I wasn't really rooting for them as a couple. I didn't really get their chemistry, and I didn't see them really ending up together long term. I did like how Rune and Gideon both had very valid reasons for feeling the way that they did, and were very passionate towards their careers, if you would want to call them that. I don't really love when books span over such a short period of time, especially if there's a romance element to a book series, and I think book 1 was set over 1 week, so I didn't really love that. But I do love, my favorite form of fantasy is a duology. So I do love when a book series is just a duology. Loved that. I would say book 2, The World and the Magic, was much more intriguing, and I preferred book 2 over book 1. The only thing about book 2 is I feel like 80% of the plot was in the last 50 pages, but overall this was a fun, good series. Oh, and I would recommend it. I forgot to say that. Book 2 is Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. I absolutely love The 7-Year Slip. I love it so much. It's one of my favorite books. It's in my Me-Core book list. And so I thought, why not read another one of hers? Because I have yet to do that, and this one had just come out in July. So this again was written by Ashley Poston, published in 2025. It's 384 pages, and the average rating is a 3.93. I DNF this book at 57%. So this is a magical realism romance book. So we have Joni, who is a songwriter, and she goes back to her hometown in North Carolina. It's a beach town where her parents own a music hall, and she comes back because she comes back every summer, but her mom has dementia. So this is kind of the last summer that they will all remember what's going on and kind of have their traditional summer that they usually have. Joni, she hears this guy's voice in her head, and we kind of follow along her story living with her parents while she's finding out all these things about her mom's with dementia, and then also having this guy in her head, and they can hear each other's thoughts, and they're trying to figure out like what is going on. I didn't like how, to me, it felt like there were so many passages of blocks of text that just were reused over and over, and just when something would be brought up, she would describe it in a paragraph, and then the next time it was brought up, she would describe it again, and just kept describing it over and over and over. And there were a lot of inconsistencies in the writing. It would be like, oh, this picture is so blurry, and then the next page it would be, this picture is the clearest picture I've ever seen. Well, those are literally opposites. So didn't really like how there were so many inconsistencies. I also feel like there were a lot of passages meant to sound profound and have deeper meaning, but they kind of just felt like they made no sense at all because they had nothing to do with the context as to what was going on. It was just like in Joni's head, she was going off on a tangent of I don't even know. Also, I really did not like Joni's approach to her mother's dementia. She had not been around, so she hadn't noticed how bad her mom's dementia was getting. Her mom, her dad, her brother, and her best friend, and all the people surrounding them were doing their best handling the situation. And Joni came in and was like, why aren't we dealing with this like this? And why aren't we doing this and this and this? I just didn't like how she approached it because she didn't know what was going on, and she just kind of like bulldozed in and was like, this is what we need to do, and she was getting mad at everybody. The music element of this book was clever until it got very redundant and confusing because we were flipping back and forth between real songs and imaginary ones way too much, and I just kept getting confused because the fake songs were supposed to be these amazing songs, but I don't even know what they were, and then we had real songs thrown in, and it was just a lot of back and forth. Overall, I think the reason why I DNF this book is because I just didn't like Joni. I liked literally every single other character, but I didn't like Joni, which is kind of similar to the 7-Year Slip. I would say Clementine was my least favorite character in the 7-Year Slip, but I still liked her enough to love the book. Joni is just so in her own head that she's not paying attention to anything else that's going on, and it was just very frustrating seeing that unfold over and over and over again. The next book I read was Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. I don't have a physical copy of this book, but I don't know why. I've just always wanted to read this book. The cover was just very intriguing for me, so I decided to pick it up on Libby. This was published in 2018. It's 368 pages, and the average rating is a 3.95. I don't rate nonfiction, so there is no rating for this, but this is a memoir following Dolly Alderton in her 20s. When I read a memoir, I feel as though it should do one of these things. Personally, that's just how I feel. I think it should either invoke relatability, describe ways to learn from a personal experience, or inspire through one's story. And I feel like this book did none of that. I'm going to talk about what I liked and then what I didn't like. The chapters I specifically liked were Everything I Know About Love at 21 and Dear Dolly Something Alderton. I also liked these quotes that I'm going to read out. So this quote is, "On the seat across from me there was a boy about my age with the prettiest face I had ever seen. He had been trying to catch my gaze while I had been staring out the window, daydreaming of a man on this broken down train trying to catch my gaze." I don't know, this quote just reminds me of being in your present perspective, and I personally have been trying to focus on that concept more. So it was like a slap in the face, like, hey, be in the present. Like, you're daydreaming about something for something to happen, and it's literally happening in front of you, but you're not noticing it because you're so in your head trying to think about something happening. I also liked the quote, "You can try to block it out, but on difficult days you feel you'll never be as euphoric as your 10-year-old self." Kind of sucks when it happens, doesn't it? And then the final quote is, "I'm just getting my money's worth out of my 20s." Is this a sign that I should go get a nice coffee? Because that's what it sounds like to me. I feel like some of the lessons in 28 Lessons at 28 were really good reminders, and I felt like I needed to hear that. And now for the things I didn't like. So this book kind of reminded me of Carrie Bradshaw. I personally have never watched that show. I watched the Carrie Diaries, and I love the Carrie Diaries, but the clips that I've seen of Sex and the City feels kind of similar. I have never desired to watch that show because of the clips, and I just kind of get that vibe from this book. I wrote several times in my notes, "She is a terrible friend," while reading this, and I felt she didn't ever improve in that development of her friendships, and overall the growth in general didn't feel very represented. Also, the recipes, I personally already know how to make eggs or whatever she was making. They just felt very random and like filler. I didn't care for them. Finally, is she proud to showcase this life in her 20s? And like, why does this book exist? I don't mean that in a harsh way, but this isn't some crazy story leading up to something bigger or some sort of growth. It kind of just ends when she turns 30. I don't connect to her story. I don't think I'm the target audience, even though I am in my 20s. And I don't want to live my 20s like she did, nor have I done that so far. And that's okay. I'm glad her story has helped other people. I didn't like it. It didn't help me. Next up, we have The Drowned World by J.G. Ballard. So, a few years ago, when my ex and I broke up, he had a ton of my books, a ton of them, and I'm like, I need my books back. Like, sorry dude, I want my books back. So he gave them back to me, and this one was in there, was not my book, but he has his stamp in there, so I guess he read it and thought it was mine. I don't know. It was published in 1962. It's 198 pages. The average rating is a 3.47. I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. This is a science fiction. So it's 2145 in London, and there are these biologists studying reptiles and life as the world is being sunk after the ice caps have melted, and there are these extreme living conditions that people are adapting to. So I'm not a post-apocalyptic reader usually. Occasionally I will dabble. I don't love science fiction all that much. This book is just really not the genre that I usually read, but I had the physical book and I'm like, might as well just read it. It's a little teeny tiny. I really liked the visual descriptions, the setting, and the world building. I'm someone who can imagine a full story in my mind, so the description of those things, so good, so captivating, and really was just building this amazing world in my head. I was extremely bored with the actual plot, and I could not care less about a single character. Literally not at all. Overall, this book was pretty intriguing, but it fell flat for me. It's kind of all I have to say about it, if I'm being honest. Then we have From the Ashes by Katie Michelle. I was scrolling on my TBR list, and I happened to see this book was releasing the day that I was looking for it, so I thought it was the perfect time to read it. Published in 2025, it's 364 pages. The average rating is a 4.03, and I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. This is a romance, and it follows Rumi, who is running away from her abusive ex, and she gets into a car accident and goes into labor. Then we have Jack, who ran away from his life because his best friend died in a fire. They were both firemen, and he ends up seeing Rumi on the side of the road and saves her. Then it's a year later and Rumi's working at a coffee shop when Jack walks in. Jack remembers, Rumi does not. It is very sweet, and honestly I preferred when they were friends because they had a really good relationship when they were friends, and then their relationship went from 0 to 100. I didn't love that. I also didn't like how long it was a secret that they had known each other before. I'm not telling you how long because I don't want to spoil it, but I did not like how long that secret was kept. Also, something happened in the book that I'm not going to talk about, but in the video that I made, I got so irritated about it. They dropped this book. It was going to be 4 stars. It dropped it a star for me because I was so irritated with the situation that happened. Overall, this was a quick palate refresher, sweet little read. I enjoyed their friendship and the interactions that they had was fun. Just that one situation just caused me some problems. Next we have the fear. So I saw, which I know I shouldn't do, but I saw a TikTok about the author and all her books sounded so interesting. It was a swipe through of what her different books were about and I just got hooked. This is by Natasha Preston, published in 2022. It's 360 pages. Average rating is a 3.85. I DNF this book at 37%. This is a YA mystery thriller. So the premise of this book, so interesting. Someone posts a meme asking what their biggest fear of dying, or like the way that they're most afraid of dying is in this old fishing town in the winter, and people the next day start dying the way that they responded. Doesn't that sound so good? So intriguing. You can tell exactly when this book was written because they mentioned eating Tide Pods. The reason why I didn't like this book is YA is so good. It is so good sometimes, but then sometimes it's so YA. This time it was just so YA. And also, does the author know what high school is actually like? Because this is not, at least personally, not my high school experience was like at all. Also, I guessed the entire plot in the first 100 pages. Didn't love that. And I was correct, by the way. And I didn't care about anybody. Did not care about anybody. If you like corny horror movies, you might like this, but I don't. And I skipped to the end and it ends on a cliffhanger. So, and there's no next book. So don't like that. I really wanted to like this book too because I loved the premise of it. And a lot of her books sound so intriguing, but just wasn't for me. So that's okay. Moving on. Then we have My Friends by Frederick Bachman. I really, really wanted to read one of his books and I hadn't. And My Friends had just dropped and I was very interested with the concept of this book, so I decided to try it out. So this was published in 2025. The average rating is a 4.44. This is 436 pages and I DNF'd this book. This is a literary fiction that follows Louisa, who's an orphan, and she's always been obsessed with this painting, very interested in the painting, and the second story kind of follows the story behind the painting. There were so many emotions displayed in this book and emotions pulling from this book that I felt, and I was so hooked in the writing style, so hooked. I just was not in the mood to feel so many emotions and to just feel so emotionally drained from reading a book. It almost felt like a story within a story, like someone else was telling a story about a story, and it just occasionally was a little bit too much or a little bit too corny, just a little bit too much on the emotion aspect. This book is a very good reminder of kindness and stepping out of your head and just viewing other people's perspectives and just to show, hey, everybody has stuff going on. It just is so beautifully tragic that I was miserable. If you've read Looking for Alaska by John Green, it kind of reminds me of the adult version of that book. It's not the same at all, but the characters kind of remind me of those in Looking for Alaska. I might come back to this book because it is so good. It's just not the time for me to read this book as of now. I just was not in the mood to be so miserable over the book that I was reading. Then we have Tuesdays with Morrie. I've just always wanted to read this book. I don't really have a reason why. I've just always wanted to read it. This is by Mitch Albom and was published in 1997. The rating on Goodreads is a 4.2. I don't rate nonfiction. It's 210 pages and a memoir. So this is about a past student who talks with his professor, his old professor, once a week, and his professor is suffering from ALS. I don't have much to say about this book. It's very short. It is a good reminder of perspective, more specifically your perspective in the present, and was just a very sweet but sad read, and I'm glad that I read it. I don't have much to say about it, but I am glad that I did read it, and I appreciate everything that he had to say. Then another nonfiction that I read was 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think. I don't know why. The cover is about as basic as it can get, but I've always been intrigued by it, so I decided to read it. This is by Brianna West, published in 2016. It is 450 pages. The average rating is a 3.73. Once again, I don't rate nonfiction. So this is a psychology book about 101 essays that will change the way you think. So I liked 25 of them. I disliked / didn't care for the other 76. I would say that some of the essays had some good concepts and some of them just didn't work for me, and that's okay. Overall, this felt like a bunch of journal entries of personal thoughts, not really essays, which is fine, but it's impossible to do everything she says because it's so contradicting, which is the fault of the genre. It's not just her, but you can't follow everything she says because you'd be contradicting all the time. Also, real life just isn't as straightforward as always doing this. You can't say always do this because life is just not as straightforward as that. It doesn't work like that. Overall, it was fine. Yeah, it was fine. Next up, we have Done and Dusted and Swift and Saddled, which are the first two books in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. I only have Swift and Saddled. I did not get Done and Dusted, but I love Chestnut Springs. I love the Chestnut Springs series. I also love these covers, and that is literally the only reason why I started this series. This is by Lila Sage, and the first one was published in 2023. This one was published in 2024. They are 356 and 320 pages. The average ratings are 3.81 and 3.9. I gave the first book 3 out of 5 and the second book 2 out of 5. These are romance books. Done and Dusted is about Emmy, who is a professional barrel racer, and she comes home after getting into an accident. And then we have Luke, who is the family friend who kind of grew up with them, and the playboy and the bad boy. And they start working together at the ranch. Then Swift and Saddled, we have Wes, who is the middle child of the sibling group, and he works on their family ranch, and he's in charge of building their guest house. And then we have Guest Ranch, I think is what it is. Then we have Ada, who is an interior designer with no qualifications. She's the interior designer for this guest ranch. So starting with book 1, I'm sorry, I forgot. Did you say that Luke was your brother's best friend? I forgot. Did you say that? Oh my gosh, how many times can you mention brother's best friend? Like, we get it. Ryder, Luke, whatever the heck his name is, Luke, is Emmy's brother's best friend. Like, we get it. You don't need to mention it 57 times. Also, I learned a super good tip. ADHD and trauma can be healed by getting attention from a hot cowboy who is your brother's best friend. I didn't know that. Might have to try it out. I don't know. Overall, nothing happened. Nothing happened. There were good topics and storylines and moments that were intriguing. They were brought up and then they went nowhere. If you took them out of the book, nothing would change. I feel like this book overall was just too short for anything more than surface level. Also, I don't understand if they've always disliked each other, why all of a sudden they have this random connection. I didn't care for it. Book 2 solidified my thought that this series would not be as popular if the colors were different. If they weren't so cute, I don't think this book series would be so popular. Overall, Wes, he was not a golden retriever. He was boring. He had no personality. There's a difference. And she's not like other girls, okay? We get it. She's not like other girls. Okay. Got it. Overall, both these books so far felt like Chestnut Springs knockoffs a little bit too much. Like, there were some moments that were almost too specific to what happened in Chestnut Springs. It's like, are you sure about that? Like, it just felt a little too coincidental. Overall, book 1 In book 2, same thing, nothing past surface level. I will read The Heartless Knockoff, which is Teddy's book, but I don't care about the last book. I just want to read about Teddy because I like Teddy. So I'll read the 3rd book, but doubt I'll be reading the 4th. I don't think anything will top Chestnut Springs, at least not in that field. Next we have Lovely War, which is the August book club book. So I did like a full in-depth on this book, so I'll try to keep it quick. But Destiny Sidwell, I was watching one of her videos and she was crying while reading it and was talking about how good it was. So I looked it up, what it was about, and decided I wanted to read it so bad, so I picked it up. This is by Julie Berry, published in 2019. It's 471 pages, and the average rating on Goodreads is a 4.22. This I gave a 5 stars. This is a YA historical fiction following 4 stories during World War I, and they're all doing different jobs during the war. But the story is told by the mythological gods because they are on trial for something. I would put this in my top 10 favorite books of all time. I loved this book. It was so beautiful. I loved each of the separate journeys that these characters were on while they're all intertwined along with the twist with the gods, and it's just such beautifully tragic story. It reminded me of perspective and kindness and the power of friendship. I would recommend this book to anybody. It was beautiful. Then we have Long Way Down, which is book 9 in the Addicted Calloway series by Krista and Becca Ritchie, published in 2015. It's 641 pages. The average rating is a 4.42. I gave this book 3 out of 5. It is a contemporary romance. So this is Daisy and Reich's second book, and obviously if you haven't read the other 8, you'll be a little confused, but it is their second book. Overall, I'll try to be more general with this, but I just don't really love the relationships in this series. I love Lily and Lo, but that's kind of it. I keep coming back because of the friendships. The friendships get me every time. I don't like Daisy and Reich together. I can't get past the minor thing, and their overall vibe as a couple is just not enjoyable. I don't understand why Daisy couldn't have been 18 when they met. It just feels creepy. I also wouldn't want to be in a relationship with a dynamic like theirs, so that's kind of adding to that. They say Daisy is mature. They bring it up a lot. They're like, she's mature for her age, but in my opinion, she feels so immature for her age. And like, what is Reich even doing with his life outside of Lo and Daisy? Like, what is he doing? The kid plotline, hard read. It was hard to read when they were doing stuff, talking about it, living through it. It was a hard read. I love the friendships and the siblings' relationships so much. My favorite scenes are when the 6 or 8 of them are together or in just smaller groups and they're just talking and doing normal things and living their lives. The banter and the growth is so beautiful to read, and I'm just proud of these characters. I feel like they're just real people out there overall. The writing, the way that these characters are written, they just feel like real people, which is crazy. Like, how can I be rooting for these snobby billionaires? But I am. I love seeing the growth. Next we have Wicked Lovely by Melissa Marr. This is an OG fairy book, so I wanted to read it specifically for the video that I made. It was published in 2007. It's 336 pages. The average rating is a 3.7. I gave this 1 out of 5 stars. This is a paranormal YA fantasy. So we have Aislinn. Now I don't even remember if that's her name. This girl, her name starts with an A, and she can see fairies, but nobody is supposed to know that she sees fairies except for she tells her friend, her guy friend. And then we have the Sun King, and he needs a queen, and he's trying to get her to be his queen. I think a book being boring is way worse than a book being bad, and I was so bored. I literally did not care about any aspect of this book at all. Like, could not care less. I rarely say this, but I think I wasted my time reading this book, and I don't even want to talk about it anymore, so I'm not going to. Moving on. Next we have One of Us is Lying by Karen McManus. Yeah. I read A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I love A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I don't think anything will top A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, but here we are trying. Published in 2017, it's 360 pages. The average rating is a 3.91. I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. YA mystery thriller. So this follows 5 people in detention. Just imagine the Breakfast Club characters. They're basically those stereotypes, and then one of them drops dead, and that's kind of the plot. Then these kids are sort of being accused of murder. So 2 main issues with this plot or this book: the pacing. The dude died in chapter 1, and they didn't start solving the mystery until chapter 27. The rest of the book is just following their daily lives, where they just happen to be murder suspects. 2, this is not a mystery thriller. I would say it's like 50% romance, 15% mystery, 35% literary. Like, this is not a mystery thriller. Also, the title, One of Us is Lying. Who lied? Who lied? I'd like to know who's the one that lied. I feel like overall, if this wasn't marketed as a mystery, I would have enjoyed it a lot more, but I couldn't get over the fact that it really wasn't a mystery, because in my head I'm like, okay, when are we gonna solve the mystery? When are we gonna solve the mystery? And then it's not a mystery. I loved Maeve, Nate and Bronwyn together. That is my favorite part of the book. Those are the characters that I enjoyed the most. And the last 100 pages were very interesting, but I hated how it ended. I hated that ending. I hated it. Overall, the character growth was minimal, and then I felt like the character growth that they had disappeared. So there really wasn't, I don't know. It was an entertaining book, but overall, what was the point? Is kind of how I felt. Also, I hate cheating. I hate cheating, okay? So cheating in books is like a no for me. So yeah, it was okay. I hate cheating. Next, we have Shadow Princess and Origins of an Academy Bully, which are 2 books in the Zodiac Academy by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. I don't know if I'm saying that right, sorry. They were published in 2020 and 2019. They're 724 and 94 pages. The average rating is a 4.27 and a 3.74. I gave Shadow Princess 5 out of 7 stars. So that's not a rating that I used throughout the entire video, or have I ever used a rating system out of 7, but okay. And I did not rate Origins of an Academy Bully because it's just a novella. So these are just continuing stories of Zodiac Academy in Shadow Princess, and then Origins of an Academy Bully is about Darius and Orion, how they became bonded and their life before. Honestly, I don't really have much to say. I don't even remember. Like, in my head, Zodiac Academy is like one big story. I could not tell you what happens in each book. I have literally no clue. I'm just gonna say I'm entertained. It's like a fantasy CW reality TV show in book form. And sometimes you just need a million book series to have a silly, goofy time with. And yes, I need more of Darius and Orion's point of view, please. The last book I will be talking about is At the Coffee Shop of Curiosities, which was the September book club book. I honestly could not tell you how I found out about this book. No clue. Written by Heather Weber in 2023. It's 320 pages. The average rating is a 3.93. I gave this 2 out of 5 stars, and this is a magical realism fantasy. So we have Ava, who decides to drive to Alabama from Cincinnati, Ohio, after finding a letter about a job opening she thinks is from her dead ex-boyfriend. Then we have Maggie, who runs a coffee shop, and she is the one trying to get Ava to take this job. She wants someone to spy on her dad, who says he's seeing ghosts. So if you take Good Witch and any Hallmark movie ever with some magical elements and throw it into a coffee shop at a beach town in Alabama, then you would get this book. Overall, one word to describe this book is meh. It was meh. It's okay. I wanted more. The ending I didn't like. The book was set up to be good. I wanted more. Give me more. Give me more. Also, there were like 50 characters. So maybe if we had a few less, then we could focus more on some of them. I don't love Hallmark though, so it wasn't my favorite. Moving on, I'm going to be talking about everything I crocheted and sewed this past 3 months. I do way more than crocheting and sewing, but I'm just going to be talking about crocheting and sewing because that's primarily what I do on here. I'll try to speed it up because I feel like I've been talking forever. Also, I'll just put videos on the screen of a lot of this stuff because I don't have all of it with me. Also, I'm not trying it on now, so you're just gonna see old TikToks of me trying stuff on. But first we have this bandana that I made. I actually made two of them, a white one and this one. I got both of these yarns in New York at a yarn shop. This one is called Lazy Daisy Hazy Summer, and then the white one was hand spun locally, I'm pretty sure. And these are both just free-handed. I'm not a hair accessory person, but I wanted to try it out, and I thought this one was very pretty. I don't know where the other one is, though. Then we have this green, blue, and purple top and dress combo. So this top, I got a pattern for the inside of it, and I'll link, if there's a pattern for it, I'll link it below. But there's so many different yarn colors in this, so I got some of the blue from that same yarn shop I got the bandana from, and then the green, dark blue, and the purplish color are both worsted weight yarns from Sugar and Cream. Is that what it's called? This, and then the matching dress, and I really, really love how this turned out. I also used a bit of mohair in the green. I used two different kinds of mohair also from that yarn shop to kind of, if you can see, the blue has green and purple in it, so I made the green have blue and purple in it, so it kind of was cohesive. I watched a video tutorial on this, and if you know me, I don't like to follow directions or rules, so I strayed away and did my own thing after a while, but it was very helpful to start it out, and then I did my own thing for the rest of it. But it's got more, you can kind of see the mohair a little bit better here. I really, really like how this one turned out, and I like the matching top. I thought about making matching shorts too, but I don't have enough yarn for that. Then we have, this is what I call the jawbreaker top, and I have a tutorial on this. This is all worsted weight yarn, the same yarn that I used here. And this top I freehanded and then made a pattern for it. It is inspired by the inside of a jawbreaker, and then I did the white with the picot stitch, I think is what it's called, to top it all off to make the outside of a jawbreaker. You can wear this so many different ways. I'm very proud of how this turned out. I love this top. You can make it too if you want. Moving on to August, this was a lot of trial and error, and I was making a pattern for it, so it took me all of July mostly, so I didn't really make anything in July. This one I didn't make in August, I finished it in August. This is my 2024 book blanket, and it is, I mean, it's a blanket. So actually all I did was add this border. I spent forever looking for a yarn that would be the color that I wanted for the border, and I finally finished it. So a lot of people ask about this blanket when I show it, so I'll just explain it really quickly. Each row is one book that I read in 2024, and for every single star, so nonfiction 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and rereads, I came up with a stitch. So the stitches represent what star I gave that book. Oh, the colors represent the book in some way, whether that be the cover or a specific element represented, just anything really. But it's a whole blanket, and I finally finished it. Then I did a challenge, so the next 4 pieces are a result of that challenge. I have this yellow granny square kind of tank top with purple floral sides, and this is also worsted weight from all those other projects that I was talking about. I'm trying to use up some of my yarn, but these is just 2 different kinds of yellow and then purple on the side. I just free-handed this. Then also for the challenge, I made this green. This is just yarn scraps. I think it's like acrylic and a mixture. There's 3 different yarns in here, but I made this little bag. It's just like a crossbody bag that you can wear. You could tie it up and wear it around your shoulder. You could wear it inside out if you don't want the edges to be showing, but this is just half double crochets that I freehanded that. Then I made a headband, and I literally have no idea where it is, but it's a cream granny square headband. I absolutely hate it. I need to redo it, but I made that. I have literally no idea where it is though. Then finally for that challenge, I made this orange and like snow cone color top. So the granny square here is I believe it's called the willow granny square. I did that for the first few rows, and then once I switched colors to this, I think it looks like snow cone. Looks like a snow cone to me. I switched and just did my own thing, and then I freehanded the rest of the top, put the pieces together, and added straps and a border on the bottom. I really like the rainbowy color that I did because of the challenge. I'd used specific colors, and that yarn had all of those colors in there. But yeah, overall I just kind of freehanded the top. I think I found the willow, is that what it's called? I just found a chart on Pinterest to make the outside or the inside pieces though. So, and this yarn is also the same yarn from this border. I think this is the KC 100% cotton yarn, and then this colorful yarn was a dupe that I found from Hobby Lobby that I did not like, but it was good to test it out. It just pills really bad, and the texture is not as good as the KC yarn. August seemed like I made a lot of stuff, but I was taking care of my grandmother. She had just had surgery, so I was with her every single day for weeks, and she didn't have any scrubbers like to wash your dishes with, so I made her some scrubbers. I made my mom some scrubbers. Is that what they're called? Scrubbies. And some dish rags and stuff. That's literally all I have of them because I just gave them away, but made those as well. And then moving on to September, I made for a video an entire outfit. So this set included, I didn't do very much sewing the past 3 months because I haven't been home much, but I did sew this. It's pretty much just sleeves, kind of like what I'm wearing right now. But this was from the Joann's Remnants section, and I just made little witchy sleeves. And then I made a top. This is a butterfly top that I found a chart on Pinterest of this little top, and kind of just built off of that. And this yarn is also the same yarn that I used to make that bandana. So I just used a chart, and then I made this skirt to go with it. And this fabric I got from Joann's as well before they closed. And I do have a pattern, a video tutorial on how to make this skirt. But those are the only things that I sewed this year. I completely forgot this year. These are the only things I sewed the past 3 months. I really like how this outfit turned out. I hated the book, but I loved the outfit, so it was worth it. It's okay. And then finally, I made this top for my mom for her birthday. So this yarn is lattice yarn that I got from Joann's a long time ago. She wanted me to make something else with it like a year or two ago, and I completely forgot about it. But I just freehanded this top. It looks kind of weird hanging up. That is actually the last thing I made in September. I've been pretty busy, so I haven't been able to make much stuff, but I just wanted to show you all the fun things that I've been making and reading, and just sit and have a fun little chat about all the things. Okay, so that was it. I hope maybe you got a book recommendation or a book to stay away from. Maybe you got a project recommendation, or you're thinking oh, that is so hideous, I never want to make that. That's okay too. It's good to find what you don't like to read and what you don't want to make. So that's it. Thanks for hanging out with me for a long time. I literally never talk this much, and can you hear it in my voice? It's deteriorating. I need to stop talking. Anyway, I hope you have the best day ever and your coffee tastes like magic. Bye! I have so much to clean up. This is crazy. There's like a whole stack of books over there behind you.